Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm George Alder, Stags Farm Agent. I'm here with my colleague.
So I'm Andrew Dodds, and I also am a farm agent.
And here we are in East Devon on a spring day doing our first Stags Farm Agency podcast. As we've not been able to see many people last year due to COVID, no shows, no seminars, we thought it would come to you in a digital format, answering questions on buying farms and land. So, in advance, we have a number of questions submitted, and my colleague Evie will be reading out these questions for Andrew and I to debate and answer. So over to you, Evie.
Great, thank you, George. So our first question, so how does the purchase of land differ from that of property?
Can we go?
Do you want to take this one?
I'll take this one. Right, okay. So, purchasing a bit of land, okay, once sale agreed, the actual process thereafter is exactly the same as buying a house, okay? So you instruct solicitors, but actually what you need to make sure, you've got a solicitor that understands agricultural property, because they will need to deal with agricultural inquiries, basic payment entitlements, but they will go through the same legal process as buying a house. You just got to make sure you get the right solicitor. Do you agree?
I think I would agree, and there's probably a bit more detail as well that you would have up front when you're selling a farm or land. So you've got to understand a bit about services. You might have other people's services coming across your farm, understanding the rights. You might have sporting rights, hunting rights that don't belong to you. You've obviously got BPS entitlements, as you alluded to. Are they included? Are they excluded? Which we might get onto later. So I think it's similar process, but actually there's a lot more detail.
Yes.
That you sort of need to understand up front.
Just getting down to the technical detail and having someone that understands it.
Yeah.
Great. So how would land normally be sold?
So there's sort of three main methods of sale when you're selling property, and these are private treaty, which is where you just put a property on the market, whether it's farm or land, invite offers, and then when you've got an offer that's at an acceptable level, you accept the offer and then go through to solicitors. You have auctions, so you have traditional public auctions which are held in a room up until last year, and then obviously online auctions now, which have really sort of taken hold whilst the whole COVID situation has been sort of in place. And then you've got tender as well, so informal tender, and I think deciding on which method of sale is right for you will be determined by a number of factors, really. So timing may have an impact if you've got to sell your land within a certain period of time. I think if you're going to lot the property up for sale as well, having that flexibility sometimes rules out things like auction, because you haven't got that flexibility with auction. You're going down one route. So
yeah. And our new online system seems to be working very well. We've sold a number of properties, a couple of farms and some land, and people seem to adjust to that very well. So that's a new method of sale, which working well.
So what advice would you give someone that's never bought land before?
Can I take that one?
yeah, go for it.
Right. So if you haven't bought a bit of land before, I think the first thing is to work out what you actually want the land for. So once you've done that, I think then you want to work out where you want to buy it. And then the next stage, register with some land agents, property agents that sell land regularly. Give them your details, what you're after. Set yourself a budget, and then thereafter you'll get property details. Also register Rightmove, fantastic facility as well, and get the details come through. And just then go and look at the land. Get a feel for what you're after. Does this meet your requirements? Get the feel for price in the area, and then and don't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, we regularly have people who are buying bits of land and phone us up and ask questions, and we're always pleased to help.
We get a lot of questions about planning, don't we, ahead of time, because a lot of local planning authorities obviously they haven't got the resources to answer sort of general planning inquiries up front, and with a bit of knowledge that we have, we're sometimes well placed to answer them. So that's something we do get asked about.